you hire a receptionist, who's training them? Your receptionist. So who's doing your receptionist job? She's doing her job and training at the same time. And people are already understaffed and overworked and burning out. I always say, I have in my guide, the reception iceberg, answering phones and booking appointments. And then there's all the work you do down below. I like to use the analogy of the duck gliding on the water. Their little feet are paddling as fast as they can, and you can't see it. And that's our receptionist,
That's so true.
They're doing so much behind the scenes.
Receptionists are unsung heroes of the veterinary practice. Today on the Paws Effect Podcast, I'm joined by Melinda Van Der Vlugt from Canada. With over a decade of experience in veterinary medicine, Melinda brings a wealth of insight from the front lines of client communication and animal care. A graduate of the Veterinary Office and Animal Care Program and a dedicated mom of 2 boys, Melinda is passionate about the vital but often unappreciated role of veterinary receptionists. Her work is grounded in the positive reception philosophy, a client care model that blends hospitality, education, and medical support. Whether it's confronting a grieving pet owner or clearly explaining a treatment plan, Melinda knows that kindness and clarity are not just niceties, they're necessities. A quick reminder to share and subscribe to the podcast. You can also follow me on Instagram at Dr_Kara. Let's get started. A very warm welcome to the Paws Effect Podcast, and thank you for joining me. Where are you based? What time of day is it? Give my listeners some context as to what you've done for this interview.
So I am in Victoria, British Columbia, in Canada. For those that don't know, it is 8:30 in the morning.
It's 8:30 and I'm just looking at my watch. It's 5:30 here in the afternoon in South Africa. So big time difference. So thank you very much, Melinda, for finding the time to talk to me. You have 2 young boys. You're a very busy lady.
Yeah.
And so, I've asked you to come on this podcast today to talk about the work that you're doing in terms of reception training. And obviously we'll tackle and discuss the importance of it, what it includes, why we should all be considering this kind of training within our practices. But give us a little bit of insight as to how you got to this point, because you're passionate about the work that you're doing. How did your journey start?
That's a great question. Thank you so much. So I've been working as a veterinary receptionist for over 10 years. I went on my first maternity leave after I had my first son. And when I returned back to work, they were like, we didn't realize how much you did until you were gone. So, which, is a big confidence boost because it's nice when people recognize your work. And then I went on my second maternity leave. And during both of these processes, I had to train a lot of people to cover for my position. And during that time, I was like, there needs to be a better way to do this. I don't know if a lot of clinics have, a structured training base, but it doesn't seem like it to me. A lot of people that apply for the job don't have the background experience. They think it's answering phones, booking appointments, but the job is so much more than that. It's, inviting people into the clinic, gaining their trust, educating our clients, and then working with the back as well. So you're the bridge between the clients and the medicine. So as I was on my second maternity leave, I talked to my husband and was like, I feel like I could do this better. I think I can create a guide that I can give to clinics and I can assist them and help them gain receptionists, train them, and retain them.
Retain them, that is the key thing. I totally agree with you. And happy receptionists, I think, that is, the aim for most practices. We recognize they're on the front line. So
exactly. And
you recognize
also,
this early on.
You hire a receptionist, who's training them? Your receptionist. So who's doing your receptionist job? She's doing her job and training at the same time. And people are already, understaffed and overworked and burning out. So if I can offer clinics a solution to prevent that, then I'm all for it.
So your journey is more complex than that because you've had 10 years potential reception experience, but you also have another course and a different experience level under your belt, and that is in animal care. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I did the program. It was at Douglas College in Vancouver. It's called the Veterinary Office and Animal Care Program. So essentially like a veterinary assistant program. And in that program, they really focus maybe 2 weeks on reception. So it's great because it gave me the chance to get my foot in the door, if I wanted to pursue a tech career or something like that. But prior to that, I worked in a lot of customer service roles, and being in the clinic, a lot of the doctors were like, "You're so good with the clients. We want you at receptionist." So, I saw it as a superpower, and I kind of have found my career in that trajectory.
It is a superpower. And as I made mention of before, I feel for my receptionists because they are often on the front line when they get the brunt of sometimes the client frustration, they get the emotional fallout, they have some difficult conversations. And I don't know, obviously, with the level of responsibility that they have potentially in South Africa versus where you are in Canada, but they have conversations about payments and sort of service delivery. And they often bear the brunt of client or owner dissatisfaction. So is this
100%.
something that you cover in the course in terms of, from a communication perspective, there are so many advantages to focusing on receptionists and best supporting them?
100%. So in my training guide that I created, it's very comprehensive, just hospitality, client education, and medicine. I do have plans for the future of doing CE videos on my website, which will focus on, dealing with disgruntled clients or how to capture a price shopper, different aspects of the job. It's so much to put into one guide.
I can imagine. So,
yeah.
You speak about your 3 pillars and you made mention of them. From your perspective, what is the one area that the receptionists generally commonly struggle with or find the most sort of hard to tackle without your kind of support of these courses?
I think definitely the client education portion of it. You need the confidence, and it takes time to come up with that. So when I start training someone, I tell them in the first week, all I want you to do is answer the phone and book appointments. Because by answering the phone, you're going to get rid of your fear of answering the phone. So often people are like, I don't want to do it. It's like, no, do it. And then that way you're exposed to all the questions that the clients have. And you can, put that on hold and say, that's a great question. I'm going to find out for you. And then when the next person phones and has the same question, you know the answer. So that's how you learn.
It's very much, I had a really interesting conversation with a vet earlier about mentorship. So very much in the way that you're educating is providing that mentorship, but to a big audience, a big support, people who need a big support network. And I mean, I love the fact that you cover all these things because these are the things that we generally try and employ receptionists on, but most receptionists generally start, unless they've come from another practice, with no experience of one aspect of this. So they may have done reception work before, but they have no insight into the vet world, and that can be quite a scary place.
100%. And I have, had new hires where I'm like, I can teach you everything you need to know, but once they realize just how much they have to know, they get overwhelmed and they end up leaving.
So this is also a support system where they can be reassured that this is normal progress and obviously have solutions in order, like you say, to tackle some of the common things that come up as you've experienced in your career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's a lot to learn, and you don't need to know it all on the first day.
Yeah. So let's talk about the benefit for the practice of having good, well-rounded and well-trained receptionists. Why should we consider it, for example, within our practice?
You can't do your job without the clients, and you don't get the clients without a good receptionist. We are the first and last face that they see. A lot of times, I'll go on Google reviews and look at people's reviews of their clinic, and there's usually one in there where someone says, the receptionist was rude and I will not come back. And, it'll make or break your business. That's the person answering your phone. That's the person answering your emails. That's the person when they walk in, they should be waving at them and not with their head down, ignoring them.
Hey there, pet parents. It's Dr. Kara, the Ultra Pet Vet here. Brachycephalic, meaning short-muzzled dogs, have uniquely shaped jaws that can make picking up and chewing normal kibble really difficult. That's why Ultra Pet has created a kibble specifically designed for easy pickup. It contains glucosamine, chondroitin, and green lip muscle extract to help support your dog's joints so that they stay mobile and active. The inclusion of beet pulp and prebiotics helps support a healthy gut by promoting the growth of beneficial bacteria in the digestive system. Omega-3 and 6 fatty acids promote a shiny coat and a healthy skin. Ultra Pet offers 100% money-back guarantee. Try Ultra Pet's premium recipe for short-muzzled dogs today. So does that start off then with an understanding, knowing the kind of responsibilities of informing new employees of what the job role actually is? Do you think a lot of receptionists are employed and then they're just thrown in the deep end?
I think that's a lot of the time what happens. They're being trained by, like I said, another receptionist who's already doing her job. And so some of them are just left there floundering, which is really unfortunate. It's definitely, we want to empower our receptionists. When I get a new hire, I always sit down with them first and do the onboarding process. And I ask them, what do you think that this job is? And they give me their answer, and I always tell them, you are the most important person in this clinic. I want you to know that. I want you to understand that. You are the first point of contact. You are the person who gets the clients, and that's how we make our money. I'm here to empower them and let them know that you are not just a receptionist.
And feel valued.
100%.
And that, obviously inspires a huge amount of confidence and a desire to work through some of the tough times. But from your experience, what has been the hardest part of your job dealing with clients? What are the difficult conversations that you've been faced with?
Like you said, there's the whole money aspect of it, but also as a receptionist, part of your job is you're kind of a counselor to people. A lot of people, their pets aren't just their pets, they're their family. So, they call and they don't know what to do, and they're looking for someone to guide them. And that's a lot of the position is, and that's why you need to be able to educate your clients, because sometimes they think that something's not an emergency and it is, or sometimes they think something is an emergency and it's not. So, and the doctors aren't available all the time to answer every single of those questions.
Oh, so true. And how do you prepare yourself to talk about some of these sensitive topics like euthanasia, or you're going to have to pay your bill? How best do you, how do you go about that?
I think you just have to approach it with confidence. You have to know what you're talking about. And if it's something that you don't feel comfortable, then, relay to someone senior and get them to, walk you through the process until you are confident talking about it.
Yeah. And in terms of the steps you take to ensure that clients feel heard and supported during what could be a stressful visit, what is the responsibility of the receptionist during those times?
Don't act like you're the doctor, because you're not. Just sympathize with the client. It's do you have a pet? Is this a situation that I've been in before? Is it something that I can relate to? That's always what I go into a conversation having. So, my dog's been up all night pacing. I have a dog. He's done that before. So, let's book you an appointment and let's see exactly what's going on and just give them reassurance.
Particularly because a lot of the time there are multiple tasks that you have to be doing. How do you support new receptionists who don't know what to prioritize in terms of, the phone's ringing, this client needs attention, this person's unhappy? What is the advice on situations?
I'm actually in the process of creating what I call a companion guide. So to go along with the guide that I've created, the one I'm working on right now is called Thriving at the Front Desk, Finding Focus in the Chaos, which it will talk about multitasking, prioritizing, and tools that you can use to keep yourself on task. Because, sometimes you're in the middle of doing something and the phone rings. Or, you need to write down a note in a medical history, but a client has just walked in. So my top tip is have a notebook or a sticky note and write down those things that you can come back to throughout the day. I write at the top of mine, Melinda's memory. And if someone takes that, I've literally lost my mind. I need that note back that has everything I need to do by the end of the day. Yeah.
So this is like triage for our receptionists. This is teaching sort of, but it's where the communication comes in from animal care perspective to client communication and owner expectation.
Yeah. And I always say there's a service hierarchy. The person in front of you is number one. The phone is number two. Your notes and your emails, they all come after. But always the person in front of you is the person with the wallet. You deal with them.
That is very, very good advice.
Yeah.
Can you share an example of when clear communication has made a difference for a client and their pet in terms of some of the work that you've put in place?
Clear communication. Yes. So setting up surgeries.
Okay.
Yeah. Every clinic has a different way of doing it. I have a pre-populated field. So when someone is booking a surgery, I pull it up and it has every question that I need to go through. So has the pet been seen in the last year? Has the pet had proper blood work done? What is the age of the pet? Do they need some sort of medication to go home for them to have in the morning? Have I gone over the fasting instructions? I want to make sure that all of that is done during that conversation. Even though they're going to get a reminder email, I still want to make sure I go through that and talk to the client about it, make sure they have an estimate. They know what the price is going to be. There's not going to be any questions when they drop that pet off for a surgery. So definitely you want to make sure that you're communicating all those things very clearly to your clients.
And is there any benefit in a busy practice with multiple receptionists of assigning particular roles in order just to manage the workflow, but also the stress associated with a role? Sort of the expectation for us as practice owners to say, I need you to do everything and do everything well. Is that a misguided sort of approach to putting your receptionists in the boiling pot and expecting them to thrive?
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on the clinic. Some clinics have designated inventory managers. Some clinics have designated, people for certain jobs. This person's doing the follow-ups today. This person's checking in on the lab requisitions. But other clinics, it's just one person.
Yeah.
So, for myself, I set up follow-ups in the computer. So just like I was going to follow up with a client the next week, I'm following up with myself. Have you done this task? So definitely as a reception team, if you have multiple people, it's good to know who is doing what job. And if you can't do it, then make sure that you're communicating with someone else and making sure that it's done.
Yeah. And in terms of medical knowledge that's expected from a veterinary receptionist, how do you advise that they stay current and have enough to be able to support their position and their all the responsibility that they have ultimately?
Yeah, I sit in on all the lunch and learns that we have. I meet with all the drug reps. I make sure that I'm up to date on everything. I do online webinars. Just because you're a receptionist doesn't mean that you shouldn't be included in these things. You need to know, what the doctors know and able to relate to the clients.
And there's obviously a lot of responsibility in terms of preventative healthcare. Why is it so important that receptionists are informed about parasites and vaccination protocols?
Yeah, 100%. If a price shopper phones, I have a new puppy, I'm just wondering if I can book a first appointment, what do I need to do? If this is their first time having a dog, they don't know that they need vaccines at 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks. And it costs money every single time they come in. So I'm going to make an estimate for all of those. Or maybe someone phones in and my dog just went to the bathroom and it looks like spaghetti, Well, I should know that that's a roundworm. I'm not going to tell them that, but because again, I'm not the doctor, but it's something that you should know in the back of your mind. You should definitely come in and get a dewormer. So it's all those preventative medications, clients are going to come in and they're going to ask, what is available for my dog? Well, I need to know which ones are topical, which ones are, given by mouth, which ones cover for deworming, which ones cover for ticks and fleas. There's so many different products out there. And some people, my dog has allergies, or, they have certain things that they don't want to be giving to their pets. So you need to know, well, if that's not an option for you, this is an option for you, because again, the doctors are busy and that's not a need for an appointment.
No. And it can make a real difference in terms of, particularly in South Africa, where we have tick-borne diseases and, we see vaccination issues like parvovirus and distemper and rabies, which is obviously a big one, zoonotic disease. So it's so critical that we have the support of our receptionists to be giving out the right information on that preventative healthcare.
Yeah. Like I said, knowing that the clients are going to have confidence in our team, and then they're going to book an appointment.
And how do you advise your receptionist that you're training to manage an angry client or a frustrated client?
Yeah. Keep yourself in check. That's number one. If you feel yourself escalating to a point that's on their level, then you need to check out and find someone else. Go get your manager. This isn't your job to take this kind of, I don't want to say abuse, but some clients can get very heated, and take them to a separate room. You don't want to do it in the lobby in front of everyone. So, Mr. Smith, I'm very sorry that you're upset right now. Can we step off into this other room and discuss it privately? Let me get my manager. They'll speak with you and we'll work through this.
That is very good advice. And in terms of, we talk about compassion fatigue now in terms of veterinarians, but this is something that is actually relevant in our reception staff as well, that they are bombarded with things from distressed owners to conflict resolution. What is the kind of support that you advise, in terms of managing your own emotional or the toll of the job?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice when you have colleagues that you can talk to. I only hope that people have friendships with their coworkers and feel, close enough that they can talk to them. For myself, my clinic actually offers in our benefits counseling sessions.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah. So I take advantage of that. I talk to a counselor once a month. It's nice just to have someone to, not so much carry the burden, but just to talk.
Yeah. I mean, so debriefing sessions to be able to discuss some of the issues. I mean, I think for me, from understanding some of the situations that receptionists find themselves in, the ability, like you say, to either say this is a process problem and I need to report it back to management in order for us to not have this situation occur again, or this is, a client issue and this is not personal and I know that I need to just manage this, but I just need to vent and be able to,
and sometimes that's all you need. Yeah. I don't want people going home and ruminating over it in their brain. Oh, I should have said this. Oh, blah, blah, blah. We're all guilty of having those fake conversations in our heads.
Yeah. And taking blame and taking responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. And it is heavy situations sometimes, whether it's over money or whether it's over a pet's well-being. It's, we wear it home sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely good to, sorry.
No, definitely good to vent.
Yeah.
Healthy to vent. And I like the fact that there is support in terms of being able to talk to a professional. That's not something that all practices are potentially able to offer. But if you are in a position, I think that can make a real difference.
Exactly. It's a huge help.
And what would you say to someone who thinks receptionists are just the front desk?
I'd say that they are misinformed.
It's very polite. I can see you're in customer service.
Yeah, it's a big job. I always say, I have in my guide the reception iceberg. So there's answering phones and booking appointments, and then there's all the work you do down below. And they make it look easy. So, I like to use the analogy of the duck gliding on the water. Their little feet are paddling as fast as they can, and you can't see it. And that's our receptionist,
That's so true.
They're doing so much behind the scenes.
And I mean, they do ultimately contribute to the overall, like, as you mentioned, success or the culture of the practice. How does your training best support practice culture?
What exactly do you mean by practice culture?
We have obviously found some teams that the culture, that if they come together and they grow together and there's a sort of team effort, there's obviously a good, healthy environment to work in versus the sort of snide comments or bitching or undermining or whatever. But also in terms of having a healthy front reception team means that the vets actually treat them differently, because having that kind of culture sort of starts at the front desk, and the ability to be able to, like, they bear the brunt of, particularly from my experience in this practice, sometimes unnecessarily taking strain where they just shouldn't be. And we are trying to manage that better. But, I just wondered whether, obviously whether a team that knows what they're doing and has had training to manage client complaints without it then going to social media, or getting the payment or managing to pull disgruntled clients out of the waiting room or the reception area, so that they don't upset the other people in the practice. Just general practice culture, but also, obviously reputation of the practice. Does this help the success of the practice? Is this important in terms of, reputation and a place where people would want to work and a place where people would want to bring their pets?
Right. Yeah, of course. Having the receptionist be, a positive person. And I always say, I can't train a personality. I can teach them everything they need to know. But if a person really doesn't want to be there and they have a negative outlook, there's nothing that you can do about that. Some people just breed negativity. And it's true, when you have someone in the clinic that is in a negative mood, that breeds faster than someone that's more positive and bubbly. And, you don't want to be like the toxic positivity where, you're trying to find the silver lining and everything. Some days in vet med are hard, and it's okay to admit that. But yeah, definitely you want to have someone that has a more sunny disposition in the front desk than someone who's a Debbie Downer.
So true. And does the reception training sometimes allow people who are negative to have that mirror up to say, actually, you know what, maybe this is not the right career choice? From a personality perspective, if the expectation is for me to prioritize client communication and customer service delivery, that maybe this is not the right job for me, because the feedback that they're getting from the work that they're doing through this reception training is showing them that they, maybe personality-wise, that they're not suited to the job.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a decision for management. If you find that person isn't upholding your values of your clinic, then it's your choice to let them go or find a new position for them.
Yeah.
Maybe they're more suited to working in the back and just doing files.
And so, how do people do your course? How do they get hold of the training?
Yeah.
Is it something they can do online, or is it?
So currently right now, I just have my guide that's available for purchase on my website, which is the digital download of it. I will be adding modules to my website in the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping. I just need to film them. So what those will be chapter by chapter of the guide will be me teaching it to you. And I'll keep them really short and succinct. So when you hire a new receptionist and their trainer is busy, they can just go on my website and they can watch me, and I will teach them everything that they need to know when it comes to the guide. Because sometimes, the receptionist is busy. I just have to take these calls. I have to do these appointments, and then I'll get back to you. And then that way that person's not sitting there twiddling their thumbs, and they have access to the guide. They can read through it. They can educate themselves. And then they can also have access to me teaching it to them.
That's excellent. And I mean, this guide is obviously really comprehensive. I've very grateful that I got an insight into the work that you're doing. And from a practice perspective, is all the information that you would want is like the perfect receptionist. If you wanted to set up the perfect receptionist, it really tackles everything from like how to do your job to how to be really good at your job. And I mean, that has such a great knock-on effect. So well done. It's really, and it's got a really nice way of communicating that, which really resonated. So I would encourage all practices to prioritize reception training, but also the importance of it. We want happy staff, we want happy clients,
yes,
and we want to empower our receptionists to know. And I don't mean limitations in a negative way, but what they should take on and what they really should not take on, even down to treatment suggestions or whatever. But I mean, I'm going to share an experience of, I could talk about my receptionists all day because I think they're phenomenal. But, even down to, we sometimes, and we're working on it, and some practitioners are better than others, but we sometimes use difficult terminology, and the information that we provide may be at the time when they're in the consult room is such that they're overwhelmed, or the pet's distracting them, or they're concerned about something, or so they're still processing something at home, or whatever it may be. And the support that the receptionist can provide in terms of just reiterating and communicating the expectations of the post-care, or what the vet meant, or how to administer the medication. And that can, the receptionists just have got so many roles to play.
100%.
But having a good receptionist is, like you said, I think they are, don't tell the vets or the nurses, they are the most important people in the practice.
Honestly, the whole team is important as we come together, but definitely in terms of dealing with the clients, I think, receptionist is primo.
And is there a moment from your career that has really stayed with you, that really affirmed why and what you do?
Oh gosh, just to think of one is hard. It's such a rewarding career. Like I said, I'm not dealing with people's pets, I'm dealing with their family. And I have clients that come in and I'm like, I wish we were friends outside of this. You're a really cool person. But it's all those different ones, yes, there's the puppies and the kittens that are so cute, but then there's also like the old crotchety dog that comes in every 2 weeks for his fluids, and you become attached to these pets, It's, I love my job. And, I'm really excited to break out and do this venture on my own. But I do, after my maternity leave is over, I'm definitely going to be going back to work, and because I love being with my coworkers and just having that purpose.
Absolutely. And I mean, there is so much to gain from a team that knows what they're doing and being in a positive environment. What would you say to receptionists that are unhappy in a practice, perhaps that don't feel supported? Would you advise that they seek different employment, or that they look at their personality type for the role?
I would say both. If that clinic just isn't jiving with you, there's other clinics out there. But I think it's a good idea to chat with management and talk to them and let them know, these are the feelings that I'm having. And if things, don't change, then there's other clinics out there, and there's other people out there that will give you opportunities. And I hope that people find a spot where they can be happy and they can thrive in their role and they feel empowered and they feel important. because it is a big role and you are important.
And for those who are considering a career as a veterinary receptionist?
Do it.
Yay!
It's not just a receptionist. You are the bridge between the clients and the doctors. You are very important. It's a great role. It is not just a stepping stone. It is a career if you want to make it that way.
Absolutely. And how would you say from your experience, because you obviously have got some experience before going into veterinary, how has it differed from, say, a receptionist in, I don't know, even in a corporate position, or that being in a veterinary hospital is so different and the responsibility is so different?
Yeah.
How is it compared? I mean,
it depends if you're an animal person. Because I did work at a corporate job. And someone came in with their dog one day and everybody was like popping up. Is that a dog? Is there a dog in the clinic? Or in the building? People were so excited. And it just brought everyone's, they just became so much more positive just as soon as a dog walked in. And that is all day. You get to see little Fluffy or Lucky or, the little brand new kitten that just came in. So yeah, it's definitely, if you're an animal person, it's the best job ever.
And how do you advise those who are really animal lovers, but really sensitive to some of the things that we have to do quite practically? And, even in terms of, we know that the receptionists deal with situations where there's an affordability issue and maybe we are not able to provide the kind of level of care that we would like. How do you tackle this sort of situation?
Yeah. Compassion fatigue is a real thing. It's definitely not for everyone. I just trained a receptionist not too long ago and she ended up leaving because she couldn't deal with the euthanasias. And that's just the reality of it. It can be really difficult. In terms of payments, make sure there's options for people. Have a list of charities that are local that they can reach out to that can help them. And also companies, I don't know what you have available there, but here we have Scratch Pay, Pet Card, or make sure, when people come in with their new pets, talk to them about insurance. So then that's not an issue moving forward as their pet ages.
Yeah, so, really bridges the gap between communication and informing owners, not from even your over-the-counter preventative health measures, but really of pet care from start to end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the work that you're doing. We could we could talk about this all day, but how do you balance this job with kids? Obviously, I know you're on maternity leave, but you've been back before. Like, how do you unwind? How do you advise your receptionist to maintain that work-life balance, and whether it's burnout or just kind of, get some rest and recovery when they're not at work?
I myself, I'm an avid reader. So I love to, dive into a book and disassociate.
Yeah.
But, just make sure you have some other type of hobby, whether it's, cooking, baking, going to the gym, doing yoga, reading, going for a walk, just, going out for coffee with friends and having a good talk. It's good to have that type of balance in your life for sure. And
very therapeutic.
Yeah. And, sometimes depending on the clinic that you work at, it's, people do glorify the staying late and working longer hours and, prioritize your mental health. It's okay to say no.
Yeah. Clearer boundaries. Very much so.
Yeah.
So if people want to do your course and want to get hold of you, tell us where to find you. I know that you're obviously out there, but if they want to discuss these things with you, if practices want to put these courses in place, what's the best way of doing it?
Yeah, so I do have a website. It's positivereception.ca. It's got all my contact info on there. You can find me on Instagram at positive.reception or by email, positivereception@gmail.com.
Okay, we'll put all these links at the bottom in the bio so
Love it. Thank you.
People can click on it. And thank you very much for the important role that you play in terms of, of providing the support for our very special reception team.
Yeah.
I think it's certainly something that we're going to be putting in place in our practice. And I think I will be able to give you feedback.
Yeah.
I think, the supports that we put in place will only give us sort of a positive response, both from clients and the team members. I think definitely it's time that we put more focus on the importance of receptionists.
Yeah, just on social media a couple weeks ago, it was Receptionist Week. And it was so empowering to see all these people putting out there just how appreciative they are of all the receptionists. It's great to see them getting all the love that they deserve. And thank you so much for having me on here to talk about this. And
no, it's great
to put the word out.
Yeah, no, it's really important information, and I love it. It's really resonating. So good luck with your future in training.
Thank you.
Getting back into the practice system with 2 children. So busy, congratulations for very busy. I'm not sure you're going to have a lot of time to read. But I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Audiobooks. Audiobooks are awesome.
Audiobooks. There you go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Kara. I really appreciate you.
I so appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode on the Paws Effect Podcast. If you found the discussion helpful, please like, share, and follow our podcasts. Don't forget to leave us a comment or review. We love hearing from our listeners. Remember, you can listen to us on your preferred podcast platform. Welcome back to Just for Pets. You're with Dr. Kara.
Hi, Doc. It's Justin the Jack Rossi here, and boy am I itchy.
Are you on a hypoallergenic diet?
Hyper what now?
Changing to a special diet will really help. And Just for Pets have a massive range. And flea and tick medication, special shampoo.
Ooh, how quick can I get some?
Order today and we'll deliver pronto.
I feel better already.
Justforpets.co.za. Vet approved, pet adored. Get it all to your door.